All right. Another basic scratch, guys, I want to make sure everyone understands. I want to go over is transforming. Okay. So for my advanced guys, be patient. For my beginners, okay. Transforming is a lot of the record movement's going to be a lot of releasing and dragging is the best way to describe it. It's not limited to that, but the basic patterns we're going to learn are releasing the record and a drag. So a release would be literally letting the record go, shadowing it, and a drag would be when you move the record forward or backwards really slow. In this instance, moving it backwards. All right. So a lot of these movements that without the fader are going to sound like. All right, and we'll be doing rhythmic patterns, starting with the fader in the closed position. And we might do combinations that require us to hit the, the fader in different rhythmic patterns, in a quarter note, an eighth note, a 16th note, okay? So I'm gonna run through some basic patterns. Try your best to keep up. My intermediate and advanced guys, yeah, just remember guys, the transform, starting, closed, we'll hit different patterns. I want you guys to do some variations. 2 click forward, 2 click back. 3 click forward, 3 click back. 4 click forward, 4 click back. And combinations of those. Alright, we might see things that take us into a different rhythm, like a triplet, which would be like 1 forward and 2 back. My record movement is a quick release, a short drag, a really slow drag. Alright, so I'm going to run this through some transforming, the same thing. You guys follow along, 4 counts me, 4 counts you. Any questions to remove? Alright, here we go. Alright, here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Try this. Good. Follow this. Nice. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 4. And stop. Round of applause for yourself, guys. What's up? Any questions about transforming? How's everyone feeling about the transform? Questions, comments, concerns? We good? All right, guys. My beginner guys, it's gonna get a little tougher. I don't want you to get frustrated, but you might get a little frustrated. But it's okay, because it is an intermediate workshop, and you guys just go for it. I applaud you for that. But give it a shot by all means. I'm sorry, I'm up here demonstrating. I'm not able to be on the floor, but right now, I want to talk flare scratches. Does anybody have any flare scratches down? Anybody? All right. So flare scratch is kind of a modern technique. It's a newer scratch, but it's kind of an illusion, guys. It's like it's kind of the mentality of working smarter, not harder. You know, up to a certain degree, like you just have to be really fast to achieve a lot of scratches. We got really far with transforming really fast, but with this technique, it enables you to with less movement, make a lot more sounds. Okay, so let's start with the most basic flare, a one-click flare scratch, okay? So this is achieved by starting at the top of the sound, a fader in the middle. This is an open fader scratch. So it starts with the fader opening and ending open, okay? So this is gonna be a little awkward for someone who's been scratching a little longer, so it's a really weird kind of a small shift in movement. But if we start at the top of the sound, fader open. Our first movement is just going to be pushing forward in the record. We're going to hit the sound, and we're going to click after we've cleared the front of the sound. We're going to chop the sound to make 2 syllables, okay? So it's going to sound, the first half of the scratch is going to sound like, okay? So something to remember when we talk about the mathematics of flare scratch, guys. If we call a flare a one-click flare, we always remember the formula. The click is equal to plus 1 of the click equals how many syllables it creates. So if I'm doing a one-click flare, it's going to give me 2 sounds, okay? So a one click going forward gives me 2 sounds. All right, starting at the top of the sound, fader open, pushing forward, and cutting the sound with a one click, open to close to open, right? Okay, so that's the first half. All right, to achieve the second half, we're going to beat our fader still in the middle. We're going to start moving back toward the top of the sound and give it one more click before we get about halfway back to the starting point. All right, so in total it's going to create 4 sounds, okay? So really slow it sounds like. So I want everyone to give that a shot at their workstations. I'm going to walk around and make sure everyone is understanding the technique. We're doing a little beat in the background, and I want you guys to slow down and try this. So it sounds like this, guys.
scratch sound we're all using.
Alright guys, I feel like everyone's getting it. Let's run it in a drill. Same thing. I'm going to start off really slow and follow along with me. Alright? Alright guys, let's switch flare scratch, alright? 5, 6, 7, 8. tricky one, right? Any questions about that one? How's everyone feeling about the one-click flare? Anyone getting it? Anything? Don't be shy. Class is kind of therapy here too, guys. I'll help you through the frustration of learning all these crazy techniques. Any questions? Cool. So let's work on another scratch. I want to take kind of back a step and let's talk hand control. Kind of hand control scratches. Things that don't even have to, we're not even going to really use a fader in these drills, okay? So one of the favorite scratches I have, and something I teach in the school, is tear scratch. Okay? So the tear scratch, guys, is we're going to start at the top of the sound. We're going to push forward, and we're going to break our movement into two halves coming back, making 3 notes. 1, 2, 3. All right? So it sounds like. All right? And as it gets quicker, it sounds more like. Alright. How does everyone feel about that? Does everyone understand that one? So a couple of variations out there I want to run through. So from my beginners, definitely that's the most basic on each sheet we teach at the school. Another variation from my more intermediate advanced guys, I may throw this in the mix too, is the opposite, 2 forward, 1 back. So that one sounds like. Other variations, and the rule of being able to scratch on the fingers is actually really crazy. Another variation, 1 forward, 3 back. But let's run through some pairs. I'll show you some variations you guys follow along. We don't need a fader at all in this drill. It's just about being at the top of the sound. And actually, I'd love you guys to run this drill with your turntable in the off mode. Okay? Just run it with a platter, not spinning. Same with the platter, but just platter off. Okay? And I think it's a good speed. Alright, there guys. 5, 6, 5, 6. There you go. Go. Good. All right, a little quicker now. Shorten your distance. Good, here we go. Good. Or just be silent. Yeah. 5, 6, 7, 8. Go. Very good. So it's hair scratch. I know, when we do it really slow, guys, yeah, you're gonna use it at those slower beaters, but it's actually kind of like, it's really easy to do those things faster almost. You know what I mean? Like I try to teach every scratch really slow, guys, so you just really understand it. You're not gonna go out there and do it half-time like we're doing, but it's really just for muscle memory and your guys' comprehension. Back in the day when we learned, we didn't really have a science. We would just do things to death until we figured it out. But when we opened the school, we've been like reverse engineering everything we learned and try to break it down in a simple way that you guys can learn, putting a good amount of practice in though. You know what I'm saying? I can't stress practice enough. To all our students over here, you really got to put in the time and work to get our hands to achieve these different combinations of movements. It takes a lot of time. It gets frustrating, but it really is about being by yourself and really doing something over and over and over till you don't have to think about it. To a certain point, when you start being able to flow and buzz, you have to get to a subconscious level where you've mastered techniques, so you're not up there thinking about what you're doing anymore. You can actually just kind of lose yourself in what you're doing and go. But it starts with being able to master techniques, guys. And I can't practice with you all the time, but you can be in class and push your ass really hard, but you guys really have to do breakthroughs. It's going to happen when you guys are practicing at home, you know what I'm saying? So how's everyone doing so far? Questions? Everyone feeling good? Am I going too hard for some of you? Am I going too easy for some of you? Alright, cool. Alright, I want to keep it moving. While we're talking no fader scratches, let's talk about something really cool which we teach here too. Is another scratch that you can't do with the fader, but I kind of think it sounds better without the fader. But we call it the rhythm scratch, you know, and you know, some of those one of those scratches everyone kind of did, but we all learned it from a rap record. Jazzy Jet, shouts out to Jet, and it was on a song, he's scratching a jive rhythm tracks, and this is a really great pattern, especially for up-tempo beats. But it's not really a scratch, it's kind of a combination of different baby scratches, doing a baby scratch at a quick meter and at a slower meter. So really slow, this scratch. Let me just first do the scratch really fast. So this scratch we're talking about, the rhythm scratch, is Alright, so what am I doing is I'm doing a long baby, two short babies, a long baby, and a short baby. So that's that really broken down. So in super slow-mo, guys, I'm doing. So that's the pattern that's super slow-mo, but it sounds a lot crazy when I speed it up. And something I want to talk about too when we talk about speeds and meters, guys. If you notice, when we do something really slow, we can use a lot of real estate. You know, our strokes can be longer, but a lot of people have this perception like speeding up is just about moving our hands hella fast. And it's not, it is a little bit about moving fast, but it's more about working smarter, not harder. The first thing I always say with all the scratches, we go faster, guys, shorten your distance on everything you do. So if I'm doing the most basic scratch of baby and I'm doing it really slow, right? Watch my marker. You know, I'm moving from like 12 to 3 o'clock. You know, I'm moving pretty far. But if I wanted to do that same scratch at a faster tempo and meter, watch my distance now. I'm barely moving decimal points. I'm moving from 12 to like 12.5. So every scratch, you start doing something faster, you gotta shorten your distance. Even on the fader, like if I'm doing a transform and I start transforming really fast, not only do my movements on the record get tighter, but my clicks even get tighter. Okay? So something is kind of a general rule we teach in school. Okay? So once again, rhythm scratch, the same rule. When I teach it to you guys really slow, we can be liberal with the strokes, right? Alright? But as it speeds up, if you notice, my distance shortens. Alright? Does everyone understand that pattern? Yes? No? Maybe? Alright. You guys go mute. I'm just going to assume that's a yes. And let's run it in a drill. Alright? Same drill, follow along with me. I'll go before you guys answer, and I will get a little quicker and a little bit faster as we go. Here we go. Follow me. 5, 6, 7, 8. Applause for yourself, guys. Good job. It was a scratch. That was a super handy one, guys. I remember a certain era, like you could do that scratch. A lot of the Miami DJs did it too. Like that was just like a pattern to do, especially when people like 120 really fast beats. Like so, like that's a really handy pattern too. Any questions? Comments? You guys are such a quiet group. I really can't feel you out. Like y'all should play poker. We would all be tough to play poker because I really can't call it. Enjoy this or yes, excellent. What's up?
When you do it on the halftime,
Yeah.
it's just one pattern through, and then when we're doing it on the one step above, is it more like
You repeat the pattern twice.
It is, right?
You know, it's all fours. So by the time we hit that 16, we're doing it 8 times within a 4 count passage. So yeah. But appreciate the question. I like that. Anything, guys? Done. For sure. Yeah, for sure, guys. Yeah. A lot of old guys talking in our classes, guys. But you know, I know a lot of you guys, few of you guys are new. I know I've seen a couple of you guys at some workshops before. But really appreciate you guys coming out. Please talk to me or any of the staff. We do have still have spots in our premium classes. If you guys have any questions about how the program works, for you level 0 guys, I would love you guys to hear about our